All right. Year, month, day. That is the calendar format that most of the world doesn't use, but if they see that, most of the world will understand it. So that's, that's the topic of today's video. It is November 5th, 2020, and I can safely say that for this election, I've seen enough. I have seen enough. Biden wins. We need to accept this and move on. But what we need to do is never what we're doing in the US, unfortunately. So, let me just say this part. There is a 1 in 1,000 chance that Trump steals it from Biden. And if that happens and it is official, it's not going to last very long. Society just won't accept it. And he'll want to unsteal it after that. So the reason I truly believe that it is in the bag for Biden at this point is because of Nevada and Georgia, and the places where the ballots are still out, and also Pennsylvania. In Nevada, most of the outstanding ballots are in Clark County. They're in populated areas. That's not going to change the result much there. In Georgia, most of the outstanding ballots are in Chatham County. And that's where Savannah, Georgia is. It's been a blue county forever. And, well, at least in my life, it has been. I lived there from 1993 to 2003. And, the patterns of where I lived and when really only make sense when I give you the context that my dad was a chemical engineer for fossil fuel companies. So with that in mind, I lived in Savannah from 1993 to 2003. And the energy that caused the results in Georgia, that was always there. But a lot of people in that area and in Atlanta didn't think it mattered much until 2018. The governor's race was close, and Georgia's probably going to have a recount on the presidential level, but at this point, I don't see it. I am very sure that Georgia is going to be a blue state, and Florida is going to be a red state for the time being. I don't know that much about Florida. I only visited Florida a few times, but for Georgia, it's been a long time coming, but it was coming. So that's Georgia. Now on to Pennsylvania. That's another state where I lived. I lived in Warren County from 2006 to 2011. Warren County has an oil refinery. My dad worked at that oil refinery. Again, none of this really makes sense until you know that part. Warren County is east of Erie County. Erie County went for Trump in 2016, and it's going to go for Biden in 2020. And, Warren, Pennsylvania is 100 kilometers east of Erie. And we visited there a lot, and that doesn't really surprise me either. No shock there. So for Pennsylvania, I've seen enough. That one's going to Biden. And with Pennsylvania going to Biden, Trump doesn't really have a plan going forward. Like if Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona go for Trump, he still isn't going to win. He's down to Hail Marys, and he is not Aaron Rodgers. There are some plans for Trump to steal the election, but even if they happen, he's not gonna want to deal with that for very long. That's just the psychology of who Trump is. If he goes into the White House in 2021, he's not going to like that for very long. And people said that back in 2017, 2016, but for real this time because of all he has to preside over. And the fact that Trump would use the courts to invalidate ballots that were already cast and counted, something that has never been done, not even in 2000. In 2000, they stopped the count, and we are never going to know what Florida really wanted in 2000 because of things like the butterfly ballot and hanging chads. I digress. If Trump actually stole the election this time, it would instigate a general strike, and not even Trump would want to deal with that. It would cause a lot of people in American society to do whatever they can to withdraw from it and the responsibilities thereof. And no president has ever had to deal with that. And there's no way past it. So, with all of that in mind, Biden wins. I need as many Americans to accept this as possible. There will be some unrest in the coming weeks, but just from Chatham County, where I lived for 10 years, and Erie County, where I visited a lot in 5 years, I've seen enough. I know who's going to win the presidential election. And, I went from work to a Hy-Vee in Maple Grove. Most of the political yard signs are down. It's done. And the next election is in 2022. That's going to be a completely separate video, but, there are some states that have odd year elections. Again, why do you people in those states put up with that? That should not be a thing. An odd year election in America should not be a thing. Biden's going to win this. I don't know the repercussions of that. Mitch McConnell said he'll work with Biden on getting the cabinet in. There will probably be centrist Democrats. When they're appointed, they could take a hard left at any time. But I don't see how Trump ends up on top after all this. I really don't. So that's my Minnesota perspective of the election today. I already know what's going to happen. And it's not that I am in love or enamored with Joe Biden. It's not that at all. It's just math and knowing the culture of the places that I have lived and visited. And I'll see you in the next one. Take a deep breath, relax, and have a good night.